Evening, everyone. Welcome to the No DQ live recap of WrestleMania 37 Night 2. Sweet! Well, was it sweet? That's the big question. I will say this right off the bat. WrestleMania 37 Night 2, not as good as Night 1. Why was it not as good as Night 1? I will go ahead and break it down with you guys. Thank you to everybody tuning in live and everybody else watching on demand. Thank you for your viewership and support of NoDQ.com. I really do appreciate it. Now, I do have a few super chats to get to. Last night, when I signed off, the This Guy Experience sent in $2 and said Dana Brooke everywhere, referring to the wardrobe malfunction that she had. I forgot to mention it during the stream for Night 1, but yeah, there was a wardrobe malfunction. Father Adrian sent in a €2 super chat. He says, a silent prayer for the burial of the Fiend. Yeah, let's get right to that. We kicked off WrestleMania Night 2, of course, with WrestleMania co-hosts Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil. And I did see the clip from Night 1 from the stadium, and I was wrong. When I watched it on TV, I did not notice the boos for Hogan. But if you watch that clip, which you could see on NoDQ.com, Hogan got booed very loudly from most of the fans in the building. And it sounded to me like maybe cheers were piped in for Hogan. Hogan and O'Neil were wearing pirate outfits for this introduction. They hyped up the show. And by the way, no weather issues. There was rain earlier in the day, but that pretty much stopped. And it even got a little bit of warmth and sunshine into the stadium right before the show started, right before the sun set. It briefly came out of the clouds, or emerged from the clouds. They hyped up the show, and then we had our first match, Orton versus The Fiend. Orton was wearing his unusual trunks, white trunks. I'm not sure he's ever worn white trunks, even when he was a babyface in 2004. I'm trying to remember if he ever did wear white trunks. It was very un-Orton-like to wear white trunks. And that was probably the best thing about this match, I hate to say, was the fact that he was wearing something different. The Fiend made his entrance, and the Fiend was in his burnt state, and then he graphically transformed back into normal Fiend. So much for the burned Fiend look. I feel bad for anybody that bought that burned Fiend mask. That's already yesterday's news. And then we had Alexa Bliss make her way to the ring, and there was a giant Jack in the Box right next to the ring. She wound it up, and the Fiend popped up from the box, rose from the box, and we had our match. He jumped off the box into the ring, clotheslining Orton, and we had a match here. Orton tried to get the upper hand. He hit the draping DDT once. Fiend popped back up, hit it a second time. Fiend recovered, hit it a third time, and then he was going to hit the RKO. He went for it, but then Fiend got on the mandible claw. Orton broke out of it, but then Fiend got Orton in the position of Sister Abigail, and that's when all of a sudden we had Alexa Bliss, who had disappeared once the match started. She popped out of the Jack in the Box, and she had that black goo. Remember that black goo that Randy Orton was vomiting a few weeks ago? Well, it was coming down her face. The Fiend was like, what's going on here? He got distracted, and then Randy Orton hit an RKO out of nowhere, and that beat the Fiend. The Fiend, 4 months gone, coming back looking for revenge, and he loses to an RKO, even though he pops up from everything else and survived being set on fire. Couldn't even take one RKO. Yeah. The one and only Caleb Jacobs with a $7.19 super chat says, what was the point of this match? WWE sucks. I was hopeful, but I am done with this wrestling company, and I am the most high-spirited person ever. Well, I can attest to that. Caleb Jacobs is a very positive fan, and for him to be frustrated, that's really saying something. And Mr. Tito sent in a $3 super chat, letting everybody know that his WrestleMania review is up on NoDQ.com, so make sure you guys check that out. Thank you, Tito. And let's see some of the other super chats here. Matt with a $5 super chat, thank you, says, this angle could have been done months ago. They dragged it out for 5 months just for a new storyline to be introduced at WrestleMania of all places. Yeah, I was not a fan of this. And then you had The Fiend get up again, and he was staring at Alexa. And then the lights went out, and the lights came back on. They were both gone. Crowd booed this, and WWE quickly cut away before they could start chanting bullshit or whatever. But yeah, this sucked. Like, you bring back The Fiend after all that just to lose to Orton, and now Orton and Alexa are going to be enemies, or what's going on here? The problem is, I don't even care now. Like, it's done. The Fiend is done. You might as well just end it. Put it out of its misery. Ahmed with a $3 super chat says, this left a bitter taste in my mouth the entire night. I've heard that from a number of people. People that were very excited for night 2 after night 1 delivered big, and then you open up with this, and then people were just frustrated, and I do feel like it hurt some of the crowd reactions for the rest of the show up until the main event. Awesome JL94 with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you very much for that. He says, hey Aaron, been watching you on demand, but waiting for this day for me to attend a live show. Wow, don't know how I feel about today's show, but the main event is the only reason why I tune in for night 2. Again, I've heard that from people, that the main event was the reason they were watching WrestleMania. Like, people that haven't watched WWE in a long time. And when I posted the poll on NoDQ.com, what match are people most excited about, it was very easily the triple threat that people were voting on. And Chairless Coleman with a $2 super chat says, they bogus as hell for how they did The Fiend. Yeah, it's like, it's so funny because it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. Goldberg last year was 2 steps or maybe 3 steps backwards. And then, WrestleMania kind of rebounded a little bit. Then the Braun Strowman stuff brought it back. Then he goes to Raw and feuds with Orton, and it kind of picks up again. And then this happens. So it's like, what's the deal here? Like, can The Fiend just have a normal match? Like, I said this on the predictions. Like, I think The Fiend needed to just go out there and have a really good wrestling match with Randy Orton. No red light. The red light was stupid. I was already dreading the match when it started with the red light. I'm like, get rid of the red light. It doesn't work. And let The Fiend and Orton just have a killer match. Like, they can do it. And no BS, no stupid shenanigans. Just a really good fight. And let The Fiend have a kick-ass match. Like, that's what he desperately needed. Like, a really good match back and forth, and then a win. Not this. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat, says, has The Undertaker early in his career have the same kind of uneven booking as The Fiend? I feel Taker would have been booked poorly if he debuted today. Undertaker rarely lost, for one thing. Like, when he lost the title to Hogan after winning it, it was, Hogan using the urn, and they protected The Undertaker in defeat as much as possible. And then, of course, when he lost to Yokozuna, which might have been his next, significant loss after that, and that was well over a year later, 2 years later, it took, 10 guys to beat The Undertaker. So when Undertaker did lose, it was either shenanigans, lots of outside interference, or it was somebody like Steve Austin that would beat The Undertaker. And, that's a top-tier guy in, a very high-profile match when Austin's the biggest star in the company, and Taker should be putting him over. And let's see here. Virtue sent in a $2 super chat, says, acknowledge Reigns and acknowledge me main event. It will be acknowledged, believe me. And Keith Johnson with a $5 super chat says, the fragments of the burned Fiend shedding back into original Fiend is miraculous. I know, right? If Bobby Heenan was there, he could say, it's a miracle the Fiend has recovered from those burns. And Gabe with a $5 super chat has a theory on where this is all going, saying, I think she is morphing into Sister Abigail, either that or the daughter of Papa Shango and one of the Godfather's women. I'm not even going to speculate on it, because every time I'm like, well, this is what it must be, or this is going to happen, it doesn't happen. Like, what about Jimmy Uso? And we'll get to that later, but every time, Jimmy Uso's pretty much the same thing as Sister Abigail. Every time we think Sister Abigail is going to show up, nothing ever happens. Every time we think Jimmy Uso's coming back from injury, i.e. me, it never happens. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Arn Anderson in an interview says that he regrets how Bray Wyatt has been booked in WWE by having him cut great promos only to lose the big matches. Yeah, story of his career going back to WrestleMania 30 with John Cena. Like, he's a lot of hype, but then he always chokes in the big match. And it's like, I stopped caring about the guy. And maybe Alexa Bliss is going to be Sister Abigail, but man, I just don't really care much anymore. And Walter Cruz with a $5 super chat says, thought Corey Graves was going to say highly unlikely in all likelihood. Well, that's actually Gorilla Monsoon's line. He always used to say highly unlikely, which is something I said because of him, and then I said in all likelihood, and that became a catchphrase somehow. Brian Spencer sent in a $2 super chat, says, badass shirt, Aaron, it just needed to be said. Well, thank you for that. I do appreciate the kind comment, Brian, the compliment about the shirt. And Michael with a $5 super chat says, how awesome funny would it have been if Rated RKO, or if Randy RKO'd Wyatt off the box and 1, 2, 3 as soon as the match started? Man, I mean, that's probably the only way that fans would have been more upset if that happened. So yeah, this was a pretty shitty way to start off the show, in my opinion. And then our second match of the evening was the women's tag team titles match, Natalya and Tamina against Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. Of course, Natalya and Tamina won the match the previous night to earn the title opportunity. And Charles Coleman with a $2 super chat says, Wyatt could have been the new Undertaker. Absolutely. And I said this before. SummerSlam 2019, when The Fiend fought Finn Balor, and that was The Fiend's first big match with the new gimmick. I was there in person for that, and we all felt it. Like, we felt this is something really special. They have the next Undertaker, and they blew it. So that's that. We move on here. Nia Jax and Natalya started things off, but Nia wanted Tamina, her old tag team partner, so Tamina tagged in, and the crowd actually chanted Tamina. This might be history. I do not recall a Tamina chant ever on a WWE show. So there you go. They actually did chant for Tamina. I thought the match was all right. It wasn't that bad. I was surprised that it was decent. Shayna was going pretty hard on Natalya. She gave her a knee to the face, and Natalya's selling was really good, because I was thinking for a moment, like, was this a repeat of what happened to Asuka a few weeks ago? But yeah, it was pretty solid. Shayna Baszler working over Natalya for a while, and Tamina ended up getting the hot tag eventually. Hit Shayna with a Samoan drop, but Shayna kicked out. And then Nia Jax tagged herself in, hit a double cross body onto both Natalya and Tamina, but they kicked out. and then it was back to Nia and Tamina. Nia was trash-talking Tamina. Tamina responded with a body slam, which was teased earlier. Unfortunately, the body slam was not great. It was not Hogan and Andre. Hogan and Andre had a perfect body slam. This one, not so good, but she somewhat got it. Nia kicked out, and then Tamina went for the Superfly Splash, but she missed. Natalya tagged back in, got the sharpshooter on. But then Shayna Baszler, who had tagged herself in when Natalya did not see it, came in and put on the Kira Fuda clutch, and Natalya, I believe, passed out from it. I don't think she tapped. I think it was a pass out. I couldn't rewind because of Peacock. And there you go. Still your women's tag team champions of, I guess, just Raw and SmackDown now, not NXT, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Now let's look at some of the super chats here. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, Tamina got more cheers than Ali and Ricochet combined. Well, if Ali and Ricochet were actually on the show, maybe they would have gotten cheers, but we'll never know. And the This Guy Experience sent in a $2 super chat, says, hopefully this gets read Golden Shovel to the Fiend. Yeah, I'm afraid so. Again, it's a continuing saga with the Fiend. How can you build him up only to tear him down again? And Exhibit A was the match. Well, really, the Hell in a Cell match with Rollins was strike 1. Strike 2, which was almost strike 3, but they kind of salvaged the Fiend. Strike 2 was Goldberg. And now I think WrestleMania this year was strike 3. Like, how could they not learn from that previous WrestleMania match with Orton when they had the bugs and all the stupid crap in that match? Like, just let them have a straight up match. Chairless Coleman with a $5 super chat says, sorry for off topic, but if they would have kept Wyatt strong, him and Karrion Kross could have had an awesome program. Now I don't care to see it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, so many possibilities with the Fiend, and they've just blown it with him. But let's move on here to the next match, and I'm sure people will still be commenting on that. That definitely was a hot topic. Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, with JBL as the special guest color commentator for this match. Sami Zayn introduced Logan Paul, who was not very popular with these fans. To put it mildly, he got booed pretty heavily. Johnny Boy sent in a $5 super chat, says, man, that main event was amazing. In my opinion, the right guy won. Well, which guy won? We'll get to that in a little bit. And by the way, I appreciate the super chats, but please try to stick to the topic. And if I do go to the next match and you were sending one for the previous match, as I've been doing, I'll continue to read them. But yeah, try if you can to stick to the topic. We had a KO chant from the fans. KO was pumped. He was very excited for being in front of the fans again. And the match was really good, pretty much what I was hoping for from these guys. Although, I have to say I'm a little disappointed we did not get any big spot involving the pirate ship, which was something Kevin Owens said he wanted to do. And, something we all thought we might see at WrestleMania. But no pirate ship spot. So that was a letdown. But the match itself was really good. These guys always have a great match against each other. Just going back and forth. Zayn hitting the brain buster on the apron. One thing I didn't like, though, was Logan Paul. They kept showing him like every 20, 30 seconds, it seems. And it was really excessive and unnecessary, in my opinion. Zayn got some more offense. He hit some exploder suplexes, hit a brain buster in the ring. Owens kicked out of that. Crowd started a "This is awesome" chant. They were really into this one, as I was too. Owens made a comeback, hit a fisherman suplex from the second rope. Zayn came back, hit the haluva kick, made the mistake of not going for the cover. And thank you, Father Adrian, for taking care of the spammers. We have quite a few in the chat room tonight. I guess that's a sign that the stream is doing well when the bots start coming in. Jason EXP with a $3 super chat says, KO needs a new finisher. The stunner is dumb. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. You know, it's just hard to do that move when Austin made it so iconic. I mean, you're always going to think of Austin when Owens hits a stunner. Nick Glavin says, my only complaint was that they wasted a good opportunity for these two. Basically made it a comedic match with that goof at ringside, he says. Match was too short, too. So anyways, Zayn went for another haluva kick instead of going for the cover. Owens countered with a super kick and then hit the stunner, scored the victory. I should have gone with Owens, but I was taking a chance with my predictions. I was thinking, well, maybe Logan Paul actually helps Zayn win, and Zayn can get a win with cheating, and then Owens can stun Logan Paul after the match or something. But no, they went the predictable route, Owens beating Zayn. And then after the match, you had Logan Paul in the ring wanting to shake hands with Owens. Zayn was upset, yelling at Paul. Paul shoved Zayn down, and Zayn took his leave. Paul was celebrating with Owens, but Owens was like, what should I do with this guy? And he was playing to the crowd, and, well, they wanted to see a stunner, and that's what they got. Owens stunned Logan Paul, took him out. Match was really good, but I would have had a little bit less Logan Paul and maybe let Zayn get that win and then have Owens stun Paul after the match and maybe do the spot with the ship. But other than that, it was really good. I'm glad they got to have their WrestleMania match against each other. Next up, we had Matt Riddle versus Sheamus for the United States Championship. And before the match, we had Riddle meeting with the Great Khali backstage, new Hall of Famer, and Great Khali was in the house for this. He had to do his Hall of Fame speech virtually. Riddle was praising the size of Khali's hand, and Khali was speechless, really did not understand stoner talk, so he needed a translator. And that translator was Rob Van Dam. RVD showed up, so we got our Riddle segment with RVD at WrestleMania, which I was hoping for. And it was pretty funny. I enjoyed it. The This Guy Experience with a $5 super chat says, remember when the referee picked your hands up 3 times to see if you were KO'd? Nia screwed up the top rope spot by taking too long. Yes, KO needs to stop doing the stunner. Agree or disagree with the This Guy Experience? Chat room, let them know how you feel. Anyways, let's get to this match. Sheamus and Riddle. Solid match from these guys. I mean, they worked well together on Raw a few weeks back, and I enjoyed this one. Sheamus caught Riddle with this crazy knee at one point. Got a near fall with it. Riddle hit this backflip belly-to-belly suplex off the top, hit a jackhammer, got a near fall on Sheamus. And Sheamus attempted to hit White Noise on the apron, was not successful. He did, however, hit it in the ring and then hit a knee drop from the top rope. Riddle once again kicked out of it. And then Riddle tried to finish off Sheamus. He went for a springboard moonsault, but then got caught with a brogue kick out of nowhere, which looked really cool. Finish was well done. Sheamus pinned him, although Riddle did get busted open from it, so that's the only negative. But finish looked really cool. Sheamus is your new United States champion. I am a little surprised. I mean, not in the sense of Sheamus winning, because I felt like Sheamus needed a rebound after losing to Lashley and losing to McIntyre. But Riddle just won the title. So again, you're hot potatoing the title, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says RVD should become Matt Riddle's new manager. I'm all for it. Sign me up. Like, make them the Cheech and Chong of WWE. The one and only Caleb Jacobs with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Caleb. Says, my dream segment, RVD and Riddle, acknowledge me. You are acknowledged, Caleb Jacobs. And Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat says, that bro kick spot was nice. I agree. And you know what else is nice? This NoDQ.com mug, which you're running out of time. You got to do it by the end of the night. You can get 25% off the mug, any other NoDQ merchandise over at NoDQ.com/merch. Use the code MANIA. But time is running out, so you got to do it like now if you want that 25% off discount. So there's the plug for that. Match was pretty good. I mean, it was almost a glorified Raw spot, but yeah, as Walter Cruz said with the $2 super chat, that bro kick spot was nice. I agree. Game is on 100 with the $2 super chat says, thank God Sheamus won tonight. Very happy. That's what happens when you book Riddle like a complete goofball that is hard to like. People are happy when Sheamus wins the title, even though Sheamus is a heel. OG Crushes with the $2 super chat says, Jeff Hardy had a shorter WWE title run. All right, next up, we had Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship. We had rapper Wally or Whale, whatever his name is, performing Big E's entrance. And we had several percussion instruments set up around the ring. This was a Nigerian drum fight. So they had various percussion like bongos or whatever those drums are called out there at ringside. There was also a gong out there. So, yeah. The one and only Caleb Jacobs said, shouldn't have Sheamus just won the IC title from Big E, Grand Slam champion then for Sheamus. Maybe one day, maybe one day we'll see Sheamus become the next person to have that honor of being a Grand Slam champion, but probably not in the very near future. It's pronounced Wall-E. Okay, yeah, Wall-E, Whale. I always thought it was Whale, but whatever. Shows you what I know. So anyways, we had this Nigerian drum fight. Both men fought on the outside of the ring. They were grabbing kendo sticks, using them towards each other, exchanging shots back and forth. Big E got the upper hand after a while. And then Cruz tried to use the steel steps again like he did several weeks ago. He tried to drop the steps to the outside onto Big E, but Big E moved. And then Big E gave Cruz a Uranagi off the apron onto the steps. And then Big E set up a table in the ring. And here's a swerve. Big E did not go through the table, even though he set it up. You had Apollo laying out the table, putting Big E on it, and then Apollo went for the big splash, but he missed and crashed and burned through the table. Big E then hit the big ending and was on the verge of retaining his title, but then Daba Kato, I think is how you pronounce it. I don't know. I didn't know how to spell Wally or pronounce Wally's name. Can't even say it, let alone pronounce it. You had Kato from Raw Underground, for those of you that remember that. Raw Underground, Daba Kato was part of that. And the announcers acted like they had no idea who this guy was. So I guess we're completely ignoring Raw Underground, probably for the best. He attacked Apollo, and his new name is Commander Aziz, I think. That's the name that was trademarked, so I'm guessing that's his new name. And Big E was pinned after Kato put Apollo's body over Big E. Referee counted 3 since it's no DQ, and yeah. Apollo Crews with his new bodyguard or whatever is the champ, so whatever. Match was all right, but you know, glorified Raw or SmackDown match, maybe a B pay-per-view quality match. Not really what I was hoping for a WrestleMania match. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Akeem should have come out and helped Apollo win. Man, what's Akeem doing these days? Not sure he would be a good fit for Apollo in this day and age, but Psycho Jet Black always has some jokes for us. Next up, we had our semi-main event, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley. And before the match, we had the 2021 Hall of Fame segment with all the people that were inducted for 2021. You had Kane, not masked or anything, just in his suit. So corporate Kane, I guess you could say, accepting the honors. But he did do the fire pyro taunt one more time for everyone. And then we had our women's match. We had Ash Costello, who's a singer. She did a live performance for Rhea Ripley's entrance. And this was a solid match. I didn't think it was great or anything. I think the Sasha Banks-Bianca Belair match was better. But it was fine. It was a good match. Crowd was into both of them at first, but then Rhea was acting heelish. She did, I guess, technically turn heel on Raw last week. She was slapping Asuka around, and the crowd started booing her. Asuka made a comeback and went back and forth here for a while with some near falls, and Rhea counted an Asuka lock attempt and then hit the Riptide, scored the 1-2-3 victory to become the brand new Raw Women's Champion. Right call here for the new champion. I think it was the right move. If Rhea lost this, where would she go from here? I think she really needed this win. Asuka had her run as champion, so this was fine. But yeah, I didn't think it was a great match or anything. I thought it was just a good match. Walter Cruz with a $3 super chat says, can they still build Big E and have him beat Roman Reigns? Interesting. Well, we'll get to that in a few minutes here with the main event. Shanti with a $2 super chat says, no drums were harmed or played in the drum match. And the game is on 100 with a $2 super chat says, raise your hand in the no DQ galaxy for no Flair. I guess talking about Charlotte Flair, maybe Ric Flair too, because it seems like WWE is always tempted to have Ric Flair do something, even during a pandemic. So anyways, we'll move on now to the last segment before the main event. We had Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil coming back. This time they were dressed in their normal attire, not the pirate outfits. And they were thanking the fans for attending WrestleMania 37. And that's when Bayley arrived and said that they forgot to thank her. She demanded that her pyro go off. And I guess Kevin Dunn, he takes orders from Bayley. He did it. He told the crew to blast off the tens of thousands of dollars of pyro at Bayley's command. They did that. And then we had our big surprise. You know, people were speculating about, like, will somebody confront Bayley? Will it be Charlotte Flair? Or better yet, Becky Lynch making her return? Becky even teased a possible appearance. Maybe even Ronda Rousey showing up. Somebody, like a big surprise to return. Drum roll, please. Let's get those drums from that Nigerian drum fight. And drum roll. It was the Bella Twins. Yep, the Bella Twins coming out to confront Bayley. And they ended up attacking her, and they tossed her down the ramp and celebrated with Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil. And I could just visualize it in my head, all the outrage around the world at this moment, knowing that the Bella Twins, they're not the most popular with the male WWE audience at least. They definitely have a female following. And I like the Bella Twins, but this was bad for them because they were put in a position where people were going to be pissed. With Bayley coming out there, everyone's thinking Becky. And if you don't deliver Becky or at least Ronda Rousey or somebody who we haven't seen in a while, you're gonna have a disappointed reaction. So when you bring out the Bella Twins, you're setting them up to get a lot of hate. And I feel bad for them. They got their WrestleMania moment, but yeah, and WWE really didn't tease anything. You know, Becky Lynch went into business for herself, posting on social media. So yeah, that was more Becky's doing than anybody else. But yeah, when Bayley comes out there, people are expecting not the Bellas. Michael with a $2 super chat says, this better not lead to the Bellas beating Bayley. Well, whenever the Bellas, not the Baileys, but the Bellas, whenever they end up wrestling again, I'm sure it'll be for the tag team titles. Now, maybe Bayley will win the titles with somebody, and that will set up that match. OG Crushes with a $2 super chat says, the Bellas got booed LOL, and the crowd goes mild. Yeah, the crowd was not too happy about that. I'll just leave it at that. And Father Adrian with a €2 super chat says, will we see the Bellas win the tag team titles at Backlash? That I don't know about, but speaking of Backlash, the next pay-per-view, it will be Backlash, but not just any Backlash. It's WrestleMania Backlash. That's the name of the pay-per-view, WrestleMania Backlash. All right, then. And now, for the main event of the evening, the big match that everybody was waiting for, the Universal title, Roman Reigns versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan. How would fans react to this one? How would they react to these wrestlers? This is the first time Roman Reigns came out to perform in front of the fans with the Tribal Chief character. Life of Beto with a $20, 20 peso, I think, super chat says, the main event saved this show from being an F in his opinion. And Father Adrian says it was an excellent match, but unfortunately did not save the show. Let's talk about it. So the entrances, the reactions. Daniel Bryan came out, got a pretty good reaction. Crowd did the yes chant. It was good. But Edge, wow. Edge got a massive pop. I wasn't sure if they were going to cheer him, or maybe they would give him a mixed reaction, but Edge got a massive ovation from the fans, like top tier. Better than anybody on either night, as far as I'm concerned. Like, Edge got the reaction of like an all-time top superstar. Reigns got his usual reaction. A lot of boos, and you could hear some cheers for him, but mostly boos. Only this time, they're booing a heel character instead of booing a character that's supposed to be a babyface. But yeah, it was pretty much the same Roman Reigns reaction. Reigns took a shot at Bryan right when the match started. Jey Uso was instantly getting involved. He super kicked Bryan on the outside of the ring. He super kicked Edge. And again, because it's no DQ, you can have all this interference. Edge managed to recover from that. He DDT'd Jey Uso on the steel steps. And then the officials determined that Jey needed to be carried out. Why not just ban him from the match? But I guess they carried him out, and the referee felt no need to ban Jey Uso from ringside after one DDT on the steel steps. Shanti with the $2 super chat says, I was sort of expecting Roman Reigns to get a new entrance. I was too, but maybe they thought they wanted the familiar reaction from the fans, and if Reigns had new music, people might not be sure how they were going to react to him. When they hear Reigns' music, like, you think of booing right off the bat, just because that's what you're used to. So maybe that's why they decided to wait a little bit longer before giving him new music. Jey Uso was taken out, and then we had our triple threat match without Jey Uso. But you know what? I'm thinking to myself, is Jey really gone? Is Jimmy going to show up? And everybody makes fun of me because for the last 4 months now, I keep saying Jimmy might show up at TLC and help Reigns. Jimmy might show up at the Royal Rumble. Jimmy might show up at Elimination Chamber. Jimmy might show up at Fastlane. Jimmy might show up at WrestleMania. No Jimmy Uso on this show. I'll just say that before we get to the end. But let's talk about the rest of the match. Inzumasu We Trust sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, Edge was beyond rated R tonight. He was channeling his inner psycho Sid. Good shit, pal. Yeah, I loved Edge's gear, and that made me think he was going to win the match. Like, he had this main event level gear. Edge was there. He showed up to have a WrestleMania main event. I loved it. So Bryan got taken out of the equation. Reigns went for a spear. Edge countered, and then they both collided. They both went for the spear at the same time, and I was hoping we would get that spot. And Bryan got back into the mix, did the yes kicks, got the yes lock on Reigns, but Edge broke it up, and he tried to do it to Edge too, but Reigns stopped it. And Roman Reigns got the upper hand. Crowd was chanting Roman sucks, and Reigns picked up Bryan on the steel steps and powerbombed Bryan through the announce table, and then Edge speared Reigns off the steel steps. That was pretty cool. And then got him back in the ring. Edge went for a chair, but Reigns stopped him. Edge then got Reigns in the crossface, used a piece of the chair for leverage. Reigns was about to tap out. Bryan came in, stopped it, and then Bryan put the yes lock on at the same time that Edge had the crossface on Reigns. So double submission to Reigns, and they realized they can't win the title if they're both doing a submission at the same time. So they started headbutting each other, and crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Edge hit a spear to Bryan, then he hit one to Reigns. Edge then went to cover Reigns, but Bryan pulled out the referee. Edge got really frustrated at this point, got the steel chairs. He hit a concerto to Bryan. Bryan, after those concussions, he took a concerto, although Edge was very safe with it. And then Edge was going to hit one on Reigns as well. And that's when Jey Uso returned. Surprise, surprise. Edge hit Jey with the chair, and then Reigns speared Edge. Reigns hit the concerto to Edge, and then took Edge's body and put it over Bryan and pinned both guys. Roman Reigns pinned both Edge and Daniel Bryan to retain the Universal title. Walter Cruz with a $2 super chat says he was scared for Daniel Bryan and Edge's necks. I mean, they had about as safe of a match as possible, but yeah, there's always a risk. Anytime you go in there, it's a risk. But these guys are seasoned pros, so they're going to be as safe as possible. Matt with a $5 super chat says, pains me to see Edge lose here, but it's the right booking decision. Reigns should not lose the title until at least next year's WrestleMania. Hashtag acknowledge him. That was my thought process here. Like, even though it wasn't the feel-good moment, which I was expecting, I think Reigns winning was probably the right decision because he's the guy. He is the guy in WWE, and you don't want to end that when you don't need to end it, and you really did not need to end it right now. The only thing I didn't like was the Jey Uso interference at the end, because I think WWE is starting to rely too much on that in the booking. Like, Reigns should be winning some matches clean. He doesn't need the interference from Jey Uso every single pay-per-view main event. It's becoming too much now. And it's becoming stale with Jey Uso interfering every single main event now. Let Reigns win a clean match. Jey interfered in the beginning. You kick him out, and then Reigns wins clean at the end, pinning both guys. To me, that would have been even better than what they did with Jay interfering. That's the only thing I didn't like about it. Keith Johnson with a $2 super chat says, is it time for Reigns to get new gear? I like the way he looks now with the shirt off and the glove. I do think it might be time to change up the music, though. You know, they've been teasing it for a while. I just hope it's a good song. You know, with the current people doing music, I don't have a lot of confidence. SSBS Fanboy with a $2 super chat says, I saw Bryan twitching. Was he selling or not? I would think he was just selling, you know. Of course, Bryan's going to act like it damn near killed him. And Dagoon21 with a $5 super chat says, put some respect on Chief Reigns' name while he's here. This dominant heel run will be the greatest of this era. Hashtag head of the table. I acknowledge our tribal chief, and I'm glad he's still the champion, and I'm glad Lashley retained too. You know, WWE did not go with all the happy endings that I thought they would go with. Lashley retained, Reigns retained, and I'm not questioning those decisions. Lashley definitely was on a roll, and he continues to be on a roll, and same thing with Reigns. There's no reason to cut off his momentum unnecessarily. And yeah, you could have done it where Bryan pinned Edge or Edge pinned Bryan. But yeah, I did like it. Inzumasu We Trust with a $5 super chat. Oh, here we go. A little roast at me. He says, Aaronisms. Jimmy will probably return during WrestleMania Backlash. The Bellas will return back to WWE when the fans come back. Yeah. Thanks for that. Actually, I think I said Jimmy would not be returning for WrestleMania. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think I said last week I was going to reverse psychology it by saying Jimmy would not be at WrestleMania. And well, I was right. So hey, bravo to me. I called it. I said Jimmy would not be at WrestleMania, and he was not at WrestleMania. Jason EXP with a $5 super chat says, so can we assume whoever wins the Money in the Bank will beat Roman Reigns? Depends on who wins it. If it's somebody like Otis, no. I'm just trying to think who... I'm guessing we will get Edge versus Reigns one-on-one, whether it's at Backlash or Money in the Bank. Edge might be the guy that beats Reigns. Who knows? Maybe it's Biggie. Maybe they build up Biggie now that he lost the IC title. You can start building up Big E potentially to beat Reigns and make a new star. I would be all for that. If they start building up Big E now until SummerSlam, imagine Reigns versus Big E at SummerSlam. They do it in Boston where they originally had it planned with a full crowd, hopefully. Imagine the reaction. Reigns versus Big E, and Big E is the guy to finally beat Reigns. You could potentially make a new top star there. Brian Spencer with a $10 super chat says, for Virtue, Reigns a dominant champion. 3 pay-per-views in a row he was beat but needed help. First Owens, then Bryan, and he was beat twice tonight. He needed Edge to save him from tapping again, then Uso at the end. And I get where you're coming from, Brian. Like I said, Reigns needs to win some matches clean. Like, they're relying too much on the Jey Uso interference and all that stuff, in my opinion. Shanti with a $2 super chat says, just bought my no DQ tank top using the code MANIA. Thank you very much for that, Shanti. I appreciate it. And there's still time, guys. You got a little bit of time. I think I actually said it through Monday night. So once the stream went into midnight, I could still plug it. 25% off using the code MANIA over at nodq.com/merch. But it's literally the last day, so you best take advantage of it. And if Shanti got it through, I think he got it through after midnight, you should be good to go. Mike D with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that, Mike D. He says, this has only one conclusion, and it's The Rock. The question is, will WWE wait that long? will The Rock even do something in Dallas? Like, I'm thinking The Rock's not going to wrestle until Hollywood, if he does wrestle at all. So that remains to be seen if WWE will actually keep the title on Reigns another year. I don't know if they'll do that. Like, we don't get, other than Walter in NXT UK, when's the last time that somebody held the championship for that long? And Justin Devine sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Justin. He says, Reigns pinning both guys was exactly the right move, and I wanted to see it. There is no doubt he is the head of the table. Haters must acknowledge him. I agree with that. I agree. I'm with you. And Jose Garza says Bryan always twitches when he sells. I mean, that's the thing. When a guy is really good and knows how to sell, and you're wondering, is it legit or not? That's how you know you got a guy who's really, really well equipped for his job. And let's see here. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, should McIntyre take the title off Roman Reigns at SummerSlam? Interesting. I don't think they're doing a shakeup anytime soon. I think they're saving the draft for October. But it does make you wonder, like, what's next for McIntyre? What's next for Edge? What's next for Bryan? Like, you could shuffle the roster around and have McIntyre and Reigns go at it again. Yeah, I mean, you could do brand versus brand at SummerSlam just to change things up. OG Crushes with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, past 2 years, we've had all happy endings. And you're right. I would not do the happy endings all the time. But I thought with the pandemic, WWE would lean towards that route. I was wrong this time. Last year, I was pretty much on the money. I think Chris Cass has retaken the lead in the No DQ Predictions League. But Noah, I think, already went to bed, so we can't get that official word from him unless he tweeted something at nfoster1916. All right, so now DYEV with a $2 super chat says, where do I rank WrestleMania 37 on my list? All right, so I haven't done the letter grade. I will get to the letter grade in a few moments here. This guy Experience with a $5 super chat says, do you think Tamina is being punished for her dad's past? Roman Reigns earned my respect. Thanks, Vince. Bellas, stay the hell away from real women's wrestling. Aw, you don't have to be so mean to the Bellas. And I'm glad Roman earned your respect. And as far as Tamina goes, no, she's been with the company for a decade. If anything, somebody likes her, but they just, for whatever reason, haven't pushed her that strong. There have been times where I thought, like, maybe you have something with her, but they never followed up on it. Like, they give her a spot on a pay-per-view and then she disappears again. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, I thought The Rock cannot wrestle because of insurance. Well, the idea is that he can't be wrestling when he has a movie project in the works or coming up, because if he gets hurt, that could shut down the whole production. So The Rock would have to take a sabbatical from movies if he was going to come back and do another match. He would have to take a decent amount of time off and potentially turn down some major acting roles to do a match. Roy with the $3 super chat, thank you for that, Roy, says, will fans be back for more WWE shows? Not anytime soon. WWE going back to the Thunderdome, and that's going to suck, you know, after 2 nights of having fans, and that was definitely a positive. We're going to go back to the Thunderdome probably for the next 3 to 4 months, probably until August. Maybe they'll change things up sooner, but I think their deal is through the beginning of August. It's looking like we're not going to have fans back until WWE knows they can confidently go back to touring. When that day comes that they feel, yes, we can do this and there's no turning back, we're clear to go for the future, I don't think we're going to see fans back. It's going to be either every show fans are back for good, or it's going to be Thunderdome until they're 100% ready to go back full time, no turning back. No, we come back with fans and then 2 weeks later we're shut down again. I think that's their attitude at this point. All right, so Johnny Boy sent in a $5 super chat. He says, weird that there were no surprise returns tonight. You would think with fans back, they would have had some big returns. They did. They had the Bella Twins show up. I mean, they were on night one with the Hall of Fame segment, but yeah, I don't understand that. Like, this would have been a great opportunity to bring back Becky Lynch, even if it was just for one night, or anybody just for a one-night pop, but they didn't do it. We had Dabba-Kato come back. Big surprise right there. All right, so letter grade for the show. It was not a great show. I was leaning towards a B-. I think because of the strength of the main event, I bump it up a little bit. I bump it up to a B. So solid B. Good show, but not a great show. Zayn and Owens had a good match. Sheamus and Riddle had a good match. The beginning sucked, but with the main event being as good as it was, I give it a solid B overall. But it was definitely a mixed bag. Let's see. I'm seeing a lot of mixed reviews in the chat room. And night one, I mean, no question, was the better show. Joseph with a D-. I'm seeing a lot of C's. Jason EXP gives it a C. Gary gives it a C+, says he had high expectations, but the matches were too quick. Can't take the Fiend seriously anymore, etc. Twisted Metal 100 with a B+. And Matt gives a B+ overall for both nights. Excuse me. B+ for both nights. Inzumasu We Trust C-. Psycho Jet Black gives it a B-. Father Adrian says B- for last night and a C- for tonight, C+ overall. And Anthony Matzel with the $3 super chat, thank you for that, says, will WWE have fans now at all shows? No. They're going back to the Thunderdome, closed set, like I said, probably until early August. That's how long they have their contract with the new venue. It's the, I can't pronounce the name of the arena, but it used to be the Sun Dome, the smaller college arena in Tampa. That's where they're going to be running the shows now for the foreseeable future. And Frank, I have not seen the Jericho Austin interview yet. I've only checked out the little highlighted clips where he talked about AEW, but I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Stefan says A- for night one and a B- for night two. Solid B overall. So yeah, I gave night one an A-, so I guess a B+ overall if you average the two grades. And to respond to that super chat from earlier, it was a very good WrestleMania overall between the two nights. So yeah, B+ probably would be around my 9th or 10th as far as WrestleManias go. You know, top third, but not like one of the best WrestleManias of all time, but a very good WrestleMania overall. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, will we ever have another cinematic match at WrestleMania? Probably not. Once fans are back, I don't think WWE is really going to do cinematic matches much. They might bust out one every now and then, but I sense it's something they only do because there's a pandemic, or, you know, they want to do something really over the top with a character, whether it's Matt Hardy or The Fiend. Jason EXP with a $4 super chat says, do you think we'll have a 2-night, 3-hour WrestleMania from now on? I don't know. I'm leaning towards no. I prefer it. I would much rather watch 2 3.5-hour shows instead of one 6 or 7-hour show. But you have to keep in mind, this year there was a pandemic, and WWE, by doing 2 nights, they could have 25,000 people each night. That's 50,000 plus tickets sold for a 2-night event. And the thing is, when you're doing 2 nights non-pandemic, keep in mind you have to sell 60,000 plus tickets for 2 nights. And unless you got the hottest act in wrestling, WWE is a strong brand, but that's a real struggle. For them to sell out a stadium for 2 shows, that would be a very tough thing to pull off. Like, they would probably have to do 2-for-1 tickets, and they might not feel it's worth the effort, so they might just be like, well, we're doing 1 show, pack the stadium, it's a formula that works for us, and we're going to stick to it. But yeah, I would like to see them go back to doing, or not go back to it, but keep doing the 2 nights. They would just have to somehow try and sell out the stadium for 2 nights. And who knows if they could pull that off. They would need to make a new star for sure. But even then, like even in the Attitude Era, I'm not sure if they could have pulled that off. To sell out 60,000 fans 2 nights in a row with the ticket prices that they charge. Anyways, guys, Psycho Jet Black came in with a $2 super chat here. Says, should Bray Wyatt have a reality-based change like Biker Taker? I guess. I mean, whatever. You could maybe drop the character and do something else. I don't know at this point. Or just keep doing the same old thing they're doing. And, he'll keep doing his goofy Firefly Funhouse segments. And now he'll feud with Alexa Bliss, or I don't know. Don't know. Don't really care much. But that's it. That's all I got for WrestleMania. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest. Like I mentioned earlier, Mr. Tito has a brand new column up. Check that out. You can check out the results at NoDQ.com, and stay tuned for all the fallout from WrestleMania. This was night 12 of 17 straight nights of live streaming. Click on that subscribe button, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the rest of the nights. Every day this week, there'll be a new stream. NXT on Tuesdays, AEW, No DQ Review. This guy Experience with a $2 super chat says, it should have been another FFA Firefly Funhouse match this year. They weren't going to do that with a live crowd, but instead they had a giant Jack in the Box and a giant crock of shit, basically, with that match. But on that note, I'm out, guys. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all next time.